Today I'm going to be sharing some ideas on how you can create the perfect window, but I'm not going to focus on recommendations like adding Roman shades or half curtains or mini curtains to your windows because I feel like that is overdone. And personally, I'm not a huge fan of those ideas. So instead, I'm going to come up with really fresh ways that you can incorporate into your spaces in order to make your windows pop and also frame your homes beautifully. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Mulishani Bonse, welcome back or welcome to my channel if it's your first time here. My name is Tembi and today we're talking about how to create the perfect window. Now, not all windows are created equally. There's some that were designed in order to be architectural masterpieces. And so I'm going to be sharing quite a few examples with you. So consider you have a gorgeous oversized arch window, depending on how it's framed, be it it's framed in metal or or it's framed in wood. I personally think that that should be left alone unless you just want a little bit of privacy. But for the most part, I think that most people who can afford to have such gorgeous windows anyway live in really secluded areas, or they have a gorgeous view in their backyard. And so if that is the type of space that you have, there's no need for you to cover that up because the window itself tells a story. And another thing that I also like about larger windows is that you can also help to frame them by adding a border around them. So when it comes to a border, you can either use paint, and even though black and white is not necessarily trending anymore, I personally believe that that is a timeless interior design concept. And so if you'd like to just leave the black and white windows and have them make that statement as well, then be my guest. You don't always have to follow trends. Personally, I'd rather you do what it is that you love as individuals. Now, if you want to try something different, maybe try different colors. Maybe you can go for a gray and white, or if you're bold enough, you can go for deep reds. That might be something that maybe you paint over time, but that's a good thing about paint is that you can either strip it off in the future once you get tired of it, or you can just paint over it eventually. So those are some examples. Another thing that you can also do is either stain the wood, especially if you have the wood borders around your windows. That would be great, just having the stained wood. That to me is actually more timeless than painting the borders of the window itself. And so that is something for you to think about. Now, if you have, well, I don't even necessarily think you need to have a huge budget in order to create this, but I saw some windows on Pinterest that have crown molding on them, and I thought that that was absolutely fantastic. So they have a certain molding that has a design on it and it's quite intricate, and that in itself can make a huge statement and will not need to be covered up. But if you'd like to maybe add a little bit more privacy, then you could go for the colored glass. Now, I'm pretty sure there's stickers, colored stickers that you can put on your windows. But personally, I would probably opt for a smaller window so that way it's not too jarring, because I think having a huge stained glass, maybe unless it's in a church, it will look amazing. So if your home is kind of designed like a church, having stained glass I think would look absolutely fantastic, and that will give you tons of privacy, especially if you don't want to frame it with curtains or use curtains as a form of privacy. Now let's move on to more ideas. There is a certain window that kind of has a niche, and I think that that is absolutely fantastic. Those types of windows are usually found in Europe and also in North Africa. So you can incorporate some shutters on your windows. You could either paint them or stain them, or you could even go overboard with the type of shutter. So if you have a really huge budget, well, because considering artisans in the United States are pretty expensive, because anything that you want customized can get really expensive. But let's say, for instance, the ones that I saw in Morocco, And I'm probably going to be sharing some African interior design and also interior design around the world in the near future on this channel, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, the shutters in Morocco and in North Africa in general, they have all kinds of carvings on them and all kinds of designs, and they look absolutely amazing. And personally, I wouldn't want to cover that up. And especially if it's a niche type of window, you could either just put a plant on there, or you could add some books to it, or you could even create a bench seat with it, depending on how large it is. If it's a lot larger and is quite low to the floor, then create a bench seat out of it and just enjoy that space. And now we're going to move on to framing windows with curtains, things like curtains and blinds. Let's start with blinds. The blinds that I personally love and prefer are bamboo shades. And I think that those are absolutely fantastic because not only do they give you more of that natural feel, but they also kind of give you more of a tropical feel. So you kind of feel like you're living somewhere in Cabo or Tulum or the Philippines or even parts of Africa. And so instead of incorporating Roman shades, I think trying a bamboo shade would look absolutely fantastic. And those will come in handy for mid-sized windows, for instance, or maybe windows in a bathroom. I think that would look absolutely amazing, especially if you don't want to use curtains. So that is something for you to consider as well. Now moving on to curtains, there's so many ways that you can install your curtains, and I'm going to give you some really good examples. So for those of you that have really high ceilings, something that I recommend and I think is definitely going to stand the test of time is getting curtains that you can take all the way up to the ceiling or as close to the ceiling as possible, because that really just helps to frame your windows beautifully. And this can come in handy, especially if your windows aren't as large or as wide or as long. The curtains themselves will give you the illusion of having a really large window and even help to make your space feel a lot larger at the same time. And so there's nothing wrong with creating an illusion. I think that just shows how creative and innovative one can be. But but yeah, let's move on. If you happen to have windows that are extremely high and take up a lot of real estate in your homes, a good option for you would be to use curtains that have a track system, so that way you don't have to opt for curtain rods. Because curtain rods, a lot of the times, especially if your windows are really close to the ceiling, are going to take up too much space and they'll end up looking really cheap, and they're also going to end up looking really awkward. And so curtains on a track system is the best option. And the good thing about this option is you can automate your curtains as well, and I think that will be absolutely fantastic. It's going to feel like you're living in a luxury hotel, and I love that for you. So with those curtains on a track system, it all depends on what it is that you prefer. Some of you love blackout curtains. You prefer blackout curtains to sheer ones. Personally, I prefer sheer curtains. So if they were in a track system, they would definitely be sheer because I'd like to get those beachy vibes. Another idea that I wanted to share with you was quite interesting. So rather than framing your window, you could just add a curtain inside the window, and that will help to really just bring in some interest. Now, from what I've seen, the best way for you to do this is to get a curtain that is the same color as your walls, so that way it all just blends in together. I truly think that if you chose to get a curtain that is different from your paint color in the space, it's going to come off really tacky and look really cheap. So that is something for you to take into consideration as well. But I thought that was a really cool way of being able to add curtains and not necessarily have them taking up space, too much space, or have them make a statement, but more so they were just kind of blending in with the interior design. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. Now let's consider that you have windows that are extremely large, but you also have some wood design in your space. So there is a certain home that I saw on Pinterest. It kind of looks like a cottage in the Netherlands. And I'm not quite sure if that's what it was, but I've seen those designs in a lot of architecture in the Netherlands. And I really loved how they were able to hang up the curtains. So they didn't take them all the way up to the ceiling because of the design of the wood. And I love that it looked really intentional at the same time. So it didn't come off as tacky because they didn't go all the way up to the ceiling. So if you have any type of architectural designs in your homes that you would love to keep visible, then you can go for a shorter curtain. So I'm not talking about it doesn't need to reach the floors, because please do not do that. We want all of our curtains to at least kiss the floor in order for them to look good. But you could go for something that doesn't go all the way up to the ceiling because of the wood design. And I'm wondering, am I missing anything? So far, I think these are the best ideas that I can share with you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, and also hype it up if you're able to for the algorithm. And I hope to see you all lovely people in the next one. Bye everyone.